Hi, my name is Rabbi Dr. David Harbater. I live in Efrat, Israel. Have been involved in Jewish education for over 35 years, both in the U.S. and in Israel. I recently wrote a book called In the Beginnings, Discovering the Two Worldviews Hidden Within Genesis 1 through 11, which offers a dramatic new reading of the beginning of Genesis. Highly recommended. And I write a weekly column on the Parsha and current events, which also appears in YouTube. And Jonathan asked me to say a few words on chapter 4 of Lamentations. So here goes. The chapter, like other chapters, is an acrostic. But it resembles chapter or Lamentation 2 more than the other ones because it deals not with the aftermath of the destruction, but of the destruction itself. But unlike chapter 2, it doesn't deal with the destruction of the holy temple and the cities around it, but it deals with the devastation and the suffering of the people. And so that, in that sense, it's unique. But I'd like to focus on two verses at the beginning of the chapter, and I'll read them with you. Let's read the first one. Chapter 4, verse 1. How the gold has grown dim, how the pure gold is changed. The sacred stones lie scattered at the head of every street. And so when you read this, your assumption is, well, what sacred stones and what gold is it referring to? And you assume that it's referring to the gold and the sacred stones of the temple that had just recently been destroyed. However, if you reach verse 2, it says something different. The precious children of Zion, worth their weight in fine gold, how they are reckoned as earthen pots, the work of a potter's hands. Unlike what we thought originally, the gold and the precious, the sacred stones are not actually the stones and the gold from the temple, but it's the Jewish people who are compared to gold. And they have lost their luster because of the destruction and the suffering. And so here we have a metaphor that compares the people, the Jewish people, to gold and to sacred stones. And actually, right, it sort of struck me because when I was growing up, I often heard rabbis and cantors of synagogues referred to as klei kodesh, as holy vessels, which implies that they are holy vessels and we are not. But here the text is really saying, right, all Jews have that sort of sanctity. We're all sacred stones and gold, all of us. It also reminds me of a song that was written in 1967, just after the IDF had overcome the Jordanian forces and had taken control of the Temple Mount and the Kotel, the Western Wall. And Yossi Gamzu at this time wrote a song which is called HaKotel, the Western Wall. And the refrain of this is very powerful, or the chorus. And it goes like this. The Kotel, moss and sadness, the Kotel, lead and blood. There are people with a heart of stone, but there are stones with a human heart. Which is amazing, because we just a moment ago in Lamentations compared the Jewish people to the stones, to the sacred stones, to the gold. And here in the song, Gamzu is comparing the stones to a human and to us, right? In other words, there's kind of, we are like precious gold or precious stones, and the stones of the Kotel are precious like us. They're human in their essence. They have that a human quality to it. And what it really does is shows the symbiotic relationship between the people and the stones, the holy stones. And we are meant to be one, the sacred people and the sacred stones. But unfortunately, the song that he wrote is sad. He's sad because the soldiers are, even though they have just returned to the Temple Mount, they are mourning the loss of their comrades in the war. And so it has a very sad feel despite the joy and the celebration of the moment. And so it is that kind of tension between the celebration, the joy, and the sadness. And, you know, we are in the midst of a war. We have lost over 650 soldiers in defense of this country. And we still don't know how it's going to end. And I would just like to say that I think should be our hope and prayer that one day the sacred people will be able to enjoy the sacred stones without all the pain and suffering.